Welcome, brothers, to Simple Agentics Sunday, where we talk about AI topics before you go to the house of the Lord, where hopefully you're praying for your career, your retirement, and your general economic future. I'm your host, Keith, and today we'll be counting down the 10 hottest AI topics for Generation X from last week.
Bum, bum, bubblegum, bum, bubblegum. Subscribe to Simple Agentics.
All right, let's begin with number 1. The idea that AI is coming. Anybody that's telling you that is absolutely wrong. The truth is, AI is already here. It's been here. When you're looking at different systems that are pulling data or you're using to access data, that is all AI, which means two things. Number one, it is data that's being collected not just from where it's pulling it from, but also from you. And number two, the better you are at understanding the different types of data and where it's stored, the better researcher you're going to be. So it's not going to be as easy as they make it seem. The information on the surface will be easy to get, but if you want to get to the good stuff, the real databases, you're going to have to start learning how LLMs work, how the search processes work, basically how AI works. And I think one of the problems that we're having with AI is that it hasn't yet been defined. Case in point, my brand is Simple Agentics. Agentic is the way that they describe agents coming together and working together with or without a human in the loop, meaning a human playing the referee. And they are replacing humans with AI agents. The agents work together in concert, and that is Agentics. And so what I do is I explain how we, Generation X, can actually take different tools and use them to finish our career, because let's face it, nobody's trying to restart their career, or to use it to create side income, get your bills handled or whatever, or simply retire or make sure your retires in a better position. You gotta know how to do this. I think it's been proven that the gig economy is going to be here for a while, and if companies can get it cheaper, you can get it cheaper. You can also be the person doing the work. But it's going to be very difficult doing any kind of creative work, and let's face it, the only uniquely human work available pretty soon is going to be creativity. And so you got to know how to maximize your creativity. You got to know how to take your ideas and not just express them, but express them in a way that people can understand and relate to. The academic part of me always wants to tell people, never forget that human beings communicate via stories, right? We don't walk up to each other and just start listing data like we're ChatGPT. And that's the problem we're having now with LLMs, is they don't know yet how to give you things in stories. Stories represent our symbolism of real life. That's where the true meaning is. And if you believe in theories like the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which I do, language creates reality. And if it's true that 99% of everything we see is perspective and only 1% of it is reality, and language creates that reality, think about what that means for AI. And this is what I'm saying and why I believe AI is here to stay, because AI is affecting not just the language, but it's affecting the first thing we're going to talk about today, multimodal AI. You remember the hot topic in the 2000s and 2010s and all through that was, how do we create customer experience? Well, if you're talking about experience, you're talking about a three-dimensional world. Stop thinking of marketing. Stop thinking of YouTube and the internet as a two-dimensional world. In fact, the whole idea why Bayo 3 is getting such popularity is because it gets a better job of, or it does a better job of presenting a more 3D world. You see, what we want is we don't just want to hear about it and see it. We want to feel, we want to touch, we want to smell. And if we can't do those things, we want the words that specifically describe those things. Communication is all about your ability to draw pictures on other people's minds. Now you might have to erase it a little bit first, you might have to throw in some new things and concepts and things that develop so they have the tools to draw or the models to look at when they're thinking of concepts. But it doesn't change the fact that you, as a communicator at your base level, as a salesperson, as a marketer, your job is always going to be to draw pictures on people's minds. Why do I say draw? Simply because I'm a visual and most people are visual. But if you think about drawing a picture on a person's mind, the next question you have to ask is, what is the instrument you are using to draw that picture? Are you using a number 2 pencil? Or are you using fluorescent paints? Or are you using AI, which allows you to use all of the above and probably some medium that you haven't even thought of yet? That is where things become wonderful for us, Generation X, because we have the life experience, we have the wisdom that we can now express like never before. Think about it. If you've always had a problem communicating or getting your point across to people, you now have a multimodal experience at your fingertips that you can create. Multimodal means all 5 senses, and maybe 6 if you talk about talking to their unconscious mind. But think about the communication and expression that you can create. Now here's the flip side of that coin. As a consumer, as an employee, you're going to be able to, or you're going to be expected to be able to process all of this multimedia or water. As an educator, a leader, a manager, whatever, you're going to be expected to know how to process all of this multimedia, multimodal stuff that's going to be coming at you. Now I'll give it to you because I'm an academic. I look at it this way. What happens when the kindergartner comes up and they say, here is my science project? And it's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's got graphs and charts and, AI avatars and music and a soundtrack and her standing on the moon. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is 100 times worse than Daddy helped me with my homework last night. I can't even reproduce what this child has done. And this child is using this to communicate to me, and I'm the teacher. And I'm sitting back going, yeah, we were just, discussing the letter R for rocket. I didn't expect you to build one. So when we talk about the effects of AI, we aren't just talking about the fact that it's going to enable you to make better pictures. We're talking about the fact that it's going to fundamentally, there I go again. That's the exact point of this. The fact that it is fundamentally changing the way we communicate, even on a daily basis. The way that you access data, the way that you process data, and most importantly, the way that you categorize data. I often say it's much like the Limitless pill. If you haven't seen that movie Limitless, it's really great. But the number one thing about the Limitless pill is although it'll make you smarter, you have to be smart already. AI will make you money, but you have to be creative already. All right, next topic. Let's talk about why corporate America is embracing AI. It's kind of a silly question. That would be like going back in time and asking people during the Industrial Revolution, why are they putting in machines? People are nice. Why are they putting in robots? Well, this is, instead of just replacing the physical hardware, now they're replacing the mental hardware with software, which is basically AI, SaaS, AI stacks, all of that stuff. All of that is incorporated into AI. So when someone says to you, hey, let's talk about AI, or I'm going to teach you about AI, that would be like going, hey, let's go to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee. And we walked in and I'm thinking Folgers, and I look up and they've got Venti and latte and this and switch of that and switch of that. And I'm like, whoa, I thought it was just coffee. Yeah, that's AI. And you better learn your flavor, because like it or not, you're gonna have to drink the coffee. Or in some cases, the Kool-Aid. You knew I couldn't resist that one. Child of the 80s. Wouldn't be anything other. 90s was cool too, don't get mad. 70s, I saw it. It was weird. I was a kid, saw it. 70s was weird. I wonder, we're doing this all over again, and we keep repeating these cycles, and they're trying to push us back to the 50s. Are we going to get to go through the 60s and the 70s again? I hope we have time to dance before we blow up the world, or AI takes over. All right, I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. Talk about that in another show. All right. Let's talk about Agentics, my favorite topic, which is why I call the show or the entire brand Simple Agentics. The power in AI isn't in one platform. The power in AI has always been in letting these platforms talk to themselves. So now you have a whole company of employees that work for you. They are employees that do not complain. You do have to pay them with tokens, but you can also train your own employees and raise them up in the form of your own models or RAGs or other things that we discuss here on the Simple Agentics channel. But the point is this: you now have at your fingertips what used to be dozens of employees working 24/7. I think it was one of the leaders of one of the big AI firms said by the end of the year, they plan on making it so everybody, and I do mean everybody, and I don't care how brilliant you are, how non-brilliant you are, you will have 4 or 5 PhDs behind you, or rather in your cell phone at all times. And all you have to do is spit an idea and you can make it into just about anything you want. Do not look at AI as, hey, is this going to be a bloodbath? It's going to be a rainbow for those of you who have always had creative ideas and couldn't flush them out, couldn't get them off the ground, thought you couldn't do it because you didn't know how to code, all of this different stuff. And here's the kicker. Not only do you have the opportunity to, if you can't make it, you can design a lesson plan for you, have it recommend the videos to put in, the lectures, what have you, and customize a learning platform for you to learn anything you want, lickety split. Oh God, did I say lickety split? I am dating myself. I mean, no cap, you could actually build a self-learning system that would teach you more than you could learn at Harvard University in less than a month. At your pace, customized, talking to you, giving it to you in writing, in quizzes, speaking it to you, telling you it in stories, doing whatever way you need and want to learn. Hell, the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense, or one of them, one of Donald Trump's staff created the presidential report and put it in a Fox News format, I'm guessing probably AI, to give the president the news about the entire world. And you can't figure out how to make AI create a learning system for you that will enable you to learn new skills that you can combine with your wisdom to knock any competition out of the gate or start your business? Come on, you know better than this. There's only 2 things that stop you as a Generation Xer from being rich. 1, you're scared. 2, you're lazy. Because you got everything you need. And I know you can make any excuse in the book, and that's great, but the problem is you are expected to know. In less than a year, if you go into an interview and do not mention AI, they're gonna look at you like you're crazy. If you are asked the interview question, hey, what are the biggest problems in our field? And you don't immediately say, well, obviously technological innovation, specifically AI. And then the next layer, specifically how AI is how AI is affecting this industry in this particular area that your particular company handles. Or better yet, this is the AI problem we're having in the industry, and I hope that you have this program. If you don't, I'd like to spearhead it if that's okay with you. I'd like the company to be right there in the front when the AI wave hits. We all know it's already here. And AI is a cover for the next industrial revolution, in case you haven't figured it out. Anytime they use the word automation, it means that humans will automatically lose jobs. That's what that means. Whenever they use the term consistent automation, that means that money will be consistently automated out of your pocket into corporate pockets. That's what that means. You gotta learn the terminology if you're gonna play the game. All right. Next, if you want to code, code. If you want to prompt, prompt. What I suggest is doing both. What does that mean? Okay. In the way that you go to ChatGPT now, who has the best images, bar none, I'm sorry. If you go to ChatGPT and you say, make me a picture of blah, blah, blah. Okay, the more details you can put in that instruction, the prompt, the more that picture will come out exactly what you want. You got to understand how AI works. What it does is it takes your idea or whatever it is you give it, and then it shreds it into, let's just say, sawdust. Then it says, well, what do you want to do with this sawdust? And you say, well, make that sawdust into a picture of me in Aruba. Well, it takes the ideas that you have fed it through the prompt, which are the instructions, and remember, the more detailed, the more rich the Freudian slip, the more rich the instruction that you put in the prompt, the more it knows to do with the scraps it has down there, the sawdust, and then it takes that and rebuilds it into what it thinks you want. And then you make changes back and forth. Okay, so it's a process. I know those of you who are really into AI are going, oh my God, it's so much more complicated. And it's that complication that's stopping people from really getting in and understanding what's going on. It's really very simple. They take an old picture, tear it up into pieces, you tell how you want to rebuild it, they rebuild it into a new picture, a new reality. Simple and complex. Now, let's talk for a moment about prompting. Prompting is important because the picture that you want to draw on someone's mind, the prompting tells it exactly every little detail of that picture. Not necessarily, and here's where people make the mistake. When you are prompting for anything, be it a blog, a picture, anything else, tell the prompt exactly who the audience is. And if you have what I call an avatar, which is a deeply researched everything you can find about the specific niche you're trying to reach or audience, the more specific the better. Feed all of that into the prompt. What I do is I fed it all into ChatGPT beforehand, and I call it the Marcus avatar. And so when I prompt it to do an image, it automatically knows it's doing this image for Marcus. So part of that formula is going to be baked in. It's going to be the actual audience I'm looking for baked in. And here's the funny thing. That was something I got right off the bat, because looking at my analytics, I said, I want to hit Gen X males. And 95% of the people watching my videos are males between the age of 35 and 45. Bam! Why? Because every prompt I use is trained on not just me, not just the brand, not just the ideas, not just the research, not just the customer data, not just audience. All of that is balled into a mega, what I like to call God prompt. And then just for spice, I'll take that new God prompt from Claude and I'll throw it in there and say, this is the prompting guide. So now my prompts are 30, 40 pages long. Books are no longer books. Books are just prompts. Right now, they're prompts for pictures. Now, Veo, they're a prompt for 8 seconds. It won't be but a year or two, and you will be able to take an entire book idea, put the book in as a prompt together with your spin on it, and produce your own personal movie. This is where we're going. Language creates reality. What is a prompt? Language. So someone like me who studies language and who studied language all my life, I'm loving this. I'm loving it. All right. Ethics, bias, black boxes is next. Yeah, it's all still a problem. Black boxes, AI systems whose internal workings are transparent, even to the engineers who built them. In other words, not transparent, opaque, meaning you can't really see clearly. This is going to be a huge problem for a while, and it's both good and bad. Here's the opportunity for Gen X. Right now, they're so busy putting out all of this AI hardware and platforms that they basically left their back doors wide open. Now is the time to learn Python. Now is the time to get over to GitHub and start getting all of this stuff. I call it the Frankenstein effect. Get all of these pieces and parts and learn how to put them together and build your own AI system. And even if you can't build it, download that, stick it on a hard drive until you can find someone over at Fiverr or cheaper that will hire and that will put it together for you. Get someone over at the community college to do it for a few extra bucks. It's just getting hard. And think about what you have access to. Do you think that's going to stay that way? There is a whole ecosystem where just about every platform you pay for, just about every software thing you pay for, just about everything you can think of that maybe you haven't even thought of is sitting over on GitHub, Hugging Face, and other places, in Reddit, but you're not looking. And you might say AI isn't making you any money. Well, it's because you aren't doing the things where AI could. And I'm not talking about an AI business. I'm talking about all of the AI things that are out there that you can take the time to learn very quickly with AI, that are AI driven for the most part, that you could just use to save time, and time is money. You could use them at work. Think about how cool it would be if the thing that you hate to do the most at work, in my case, editing. And I love editing, but it's so time consuming. That's why I'm now switching to more live format, and even this gets edited. But I am finding ways to automate that. So not only can I do it more efficiently, I can be efficient more consistently, and it leaves room open to test and find new ways. And I'm gonna be, selling those systems later, giving some away. And one of them I was giving away, nobody seemed interested, is the disco format. Right now, I have revamped the disco format. Let me tell you what it is. If you have an idea, you see a video, you hear a blog, you see a speech, there's so much data out there. Data is the coin of the realm. If you take that data and you feed it to ChatGPT, you can do so many things with it. You can have a podcast, you can have a blog, you can do an expose, you can do talking notes. So what I've done is I've broken down all of these categories into what I call disco. And so you'll see me use it from time to time. I'll say, ooh, hot topic, disco this topic. And it knows to automatically shoot it over to Perplexity for research, bring it back, have me look at it, create video scripts, very specific video scripts depending on what kind of news it is or the angle I want to take. It's got instructions. Then it shoots it over to Claude to do the blog. Then it shoots it out different places. And all of this begins with me setting up these gigantic prompts that tells everybody their job, but keeps everybody in the loop. So everybody knows this is the audience we're trying to reach. This is our stance on everything. This is the kind of artwork, etc. we need. We need to shift this maybe this week because the numbers say that. So I really can't get upset that I'm under 100 prescribers. Freudian slip. Oh. I can't get upset that I'm under 100 subscribers because all of this is data and I'm seeing the data start to work. So forget what the other YouTubers are saying. I am not a guru. I am just a guy out here busting my hump on a Sunday morning to help you guys see the process for yourself so that you don't have to spend the time and aggravation. You can kind of jump over those mud puddles. Here's one of those mud puddles. You can spend all day following everybody, doing what they do this week and they do that week, or you can simply look at the data. Go out there, get your channel up, start making videos and throwing them up, and see what hits and what doesn't. When you see one hit, follow it. You're gonna have to give it time. You're talking millions of videos, so you need to give it at least 6 or 7 months and just watch what happens. If you're watching the data and every morning you're feeding the data to ChatGPT, to Gemini, and you're using TubeBuddy and other stuff, it doesn't cost you that much money, and you're tracking the data and you follow the data, eventually you will follow it to the treasure. But you gotta follow the map. Here's where people get lost. The map is not the territory, right? The map has big, huge trees and dotted lines and those sort of things. That's not what the terrain looks like. All of the channels that are giving you a map, the map is not the territory. I am the territory. You see them get from X to X to X to treasure, and they will mark and they will say, look, I got to this X. Look, I got to this X. They don't tell you about the rattlesnakes, python you gotta fight. They don't tell you about the caves, vibe coding that you gotta go down into. They don't tell you about the heartache and the pain that comes with trying to get this off the ground, especially as a Gen Xer, and you have, what is the other thing? The imposter syndrome, all of that. They don't talk about that. I talk about that. So yeah, go see those guys for the map. They found the treasure already and they grabbed most of it. Here's what I think we should do. We should get out there and make our own map. We know where the treasure is. We just gotta forge our own path because we're Generation X. You're not a young kid. You ain't gonna be out here, flossing for the camera, okay? You're gonna be out here doing it systematically with no bullshit. And that's why I'm telling you where you can find the real path to AI success. And I am willing to stake my life on it and show you by proving it by walking that path. So brothers, the least you can do is subscribe to a brother's channel. Join Simple Agentics. Join me on this path and let's make this AI money. All right. Let's go. All right. Okay. The next is a headline I thought was kind of cool. I was talking about this with Chat and also Perplexity. And the idea is that specialized AI is quietly eating everything. It kind of is. It's called vertical AI and is tailored for specific industries like finance, healthcare, or logistics. And it's not general purpose. It's job specific. Remember how I talked about when you make your prompts, you need to make sure that all of the information, put the book on your industry in that prompt, put a textbook in there, put a guide, put get everything you can into that prompt because more details creates a better picture. Then you can do what AI does. Then go back and extract what you don't need. But you need clay first before you start doing that ghost thing with Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, never mind. Anyway, if you're an 80s kid, you got that. All right. Here's the problem. Data. Data is everywhere. And he who controls the data controls the universe. And that's what this is all about. It's a data grab. Because if AI is trained on all of the data, well, who's got the data? If I lock down the data and you want to train on my specific field, you're going to have to come pay me for the data. And you will have your little robots who can go out and find any data because the doors are all open, because people haven't figured out yet you need to lock down your data. All of these things where people are going, privacy, 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 you're thinking, it's just your driver's license or your social security. No, they are coming for you. In China, they have this gigantic place where they have in Xi'an. I visited it once. And they have what's called the terracotta soldiers. And what's amazing in this, it's considered one of the 7 wonders of the world in some lists, because they have thousands and thousands and thousands of these soldiers, many of which they haven't even uncovered yet. And they're terracotta statues of people. And what's amazing is each statue has a completely different face. The idea and artistry that must have gone into creating those statues, as the emperor wanted a kingdom underground that he could rule even after death. What does that mean for knowledge and data? Well, you are an archetype. You are Gen X, you are male, you are whatever. If I were to break down your entire world, you are a pocket of data. Each person out there on the earth makes up about 7.5 billion independent pieces of data. From that, I can construct the ultimate picture of human or categories of human and sell to them exactly what they want, know what they want before they know it, understand them more than anything else, psychologically control them. And there are some countries, I don't want to say any names, whose entire AI focus is on conquer and control. So, when you think about AI eating everything, it is not going to be, it going sentient. That's not going to stop it. They'll blow it up before they let it go sentient to the point where it can control itself. No, it's going to be using AI to corral data and not let other people have it. One of the primary reasons that law is in Latin is because the lawyers want to speak and they don't want you to understand what they're saying. One of the primary reasons why the Catholic Church didn't really have people knowing how to read was because they didn't read Latin. If you didn't read Latin and you didn't know what God was saying, I could tell you whatever God was saying. No offense to Catholics, I'm just saying don't hit the player, hit the game. In the United States during slavery, they absolutely did not allow slaves to read, because if you allowed slaves to read, slaves get smart, and now you got a revolution, now you got a problem. History repeats itself over and over again. It was bad enough that we got access to the internet, and all we did was look at cats all day until they locked down the internet. You don't believe me? Go try to pull an article from the New York Times and see if you don't hit a paywall. Now, we're talking about taking all of the data from everywhere. And these PhDs that we now have in our cell phones, they can now do stuff with the data, especially when it comes to specific niches where people haven't thought about the data being important. Let me give you an example. This came to me the other day, and it's the silliest thing. If I wanted data about a certain topic, why wouldn't I just go to YouTube? Not just look at the videos, look at the comments. Because in the comments, you have people saying, I don't like this about it, I like this about it. You have people saying, can you tell me about this? You have people saying, can you answer this question? And you just take all that and feed it to ChatGPT, Of course, I would never recommend doing that. I would always adhere to data guidelines in any social media platform. But glancing at the data, noting some of the questions and some of the other things, and maybe telling one of the LLMs what you found, I think it could help you isolate or at least break down your niche to the point where you know what data to go after, and you go get that data and you put that data in your cloud, right? Let's face it, if data is the buffalo, and I think buffalo should roam free, but everybody starts hunting the buffalo, I'm gonna get mine. You should get yours. Data. Go get you some data. The AI arms race, deepfake panic. Okay, here's the question. Why is everyone panicked about deepfakes? Well, I think that's a funny question. I think we stopped telling the difference between fantasy and reality a long time ago, but that is most definitely the concern. I really didn't think it was going to be a problem that, I really didn't think it was going to be a problem until I saw Veo 3. And they still have that kind of glow to them when you see these characters, but they're getting better. And here's the other thing. Don't just think about raw stuff coming out of these different platforms. Switching over here for a moment to generative AI. Generative AI is any AI where you are creating visuals, be it video, audio, creating visuals, creating any kind of content that is multimedia, basically. That's generative. And that's where us creatives hang out, in the generative aspect of it. And looking at we also hang out in the other aspect, which is LLMs and stuff like that. But when you're looking at the fun stuff, the picture generation, the video generation, the same prompts rules still apply. You still need to have a good juicy prompt that draws the picture in the head. But the other issue we're having is sooner or later, when it comes to generative AI, the copyright people are coming, right? There's money. You think the lawyers are going to leave all this money laying on the floor? They're just waiting till things cool and stable down and they can get the courts focused back on the issue. But you best believe they're going to try to put the genie back in the bottle. And although they never would, it's like, torrenting, they're never going to be able to put that genie back in the bottle. But they're going to make it hard on the people that are first catching this wave because they're going to want to set an example. So be very, very careful. So you need to get creative on your own. And that's where it comes to knowing how to prompt, knowing how to express yourself through prompting. And that's the whole thing with prompt engineering. But as far as knowing reality from non-reality, when language creates reality, it's still going to come down to who can speak the best propaganda. I am not worried about everybody having the ability to make pictures. We've always had that ability. I'm worried about the people who specialize not in making the pictures. I'm worried about the people who specialize in making picture messages and then creating those picture messages and broadcasting them out so hard, so relentlessly, so out there that it's hard to dispel it as fake. War of the Worlds, we're being attacked. Hey guys, it was just a joke. That's the problem. YouTube is rife with idiotic pranksters. This they're going to be able to do from the comfort of their own home, where they will not be arrested by South Asian police and given 15 years. So, funny story, that one. Never met the guy, even though he came through. Wish I had. I would have Will Smithed him. It would have done him well. Moving forward, I think the problem that we're looking in is that we're going to have to start verifying things with facts. And you're going to have to start doing facts with your own research. This is going out to my intelligent brothers. Let's talk for a moment. if we really accept the fact that there's a lot of people on the earth who are not very, shall we say, intelligent, and now we're looking at a situation where knowledge is going to be locked up in the cabinet. But currently, we're in a situation where there's so much knowledge out there that you can literally go out there and grab the knowledge, put it in your storeroom to study for later. And you can use that knowledge to create your own personal school for you or your little children. Homeschooling. Oh my God. You can take the best lectures of Harvard of history, bring them into your storehouse, that there may be meat in your educational house, and teach your children. That's what you should be doing. Now, I don't know who might find that interesting, whether you're a prepper, a doomer, or whatever the heck you are, but here's what I do know. If they are going to start storing knowledge and the ability to access that knowledge and the tools to create your private educational workspace for your house, I got to get mine now. So you need to start learning not just what this stuff does, but how to store it, because trust me, later you're going to wish you had it, right? Okay, so check out the storehouses for knowledge. You want to get familiar with Civitai if you're doing any kind of visual pictures or video. You want to get familiar with Hugging Face and, of course, GitHub. And you're going to have to learn a little bit of Python, but here's the thing. Just like you had to learn the language of the internet, you're going to have to learn the language of AI, and that language is Python. And it ain't that difficult, even though I'm having to learn it and I hate it. You're going to have to learn Python, and that's so that you can step behind the counter and get the real stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be paying $250 a month to Google Veil 3. You're only getting 80 images, and you done messed up 60 of them because you don't know how to prompt. Learn before you leave. How do you learn? Simple Agentics, man. I'm out here learning for you. If you simply tell me what you want to know in the comments down there, I'll research it and do a video for you. And I'll even, try it. Here's the funny thing. We live in a time where not only can you grab information from LLMs and put that information in, any kind of learning format, but you got guys like me who are out here learning too, and we're like, what do you want to hear? Give me some ideas. I'll try it, save you some money, and we'll rock it. But, hey, each to his own. Simple Agentics. Join up. I'm Keith. Okay, going down next. What's this costing the planet? Okay. A friend of mine called me and he said, hey man, you're doing that AI thing. I'm invested in NVIDIA. So am I going to make $1 billion? And I'm like, there's so much to that question to unpack. You have to understand the relationship between AI and NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a lock on AI in 2 ways. Number one, they have the chips. Because they have the chips, they were the ones who, Jensen Huang and his partner were the ones that originally created the GPU chip. What makes the GPU chip special? The GPUs, to break it down very simply, the GPU chip allows many programs to run right on the chip. By having the many programs or processes run right on the chip, it never has to leave the chip to go check the hard drive. It never has to leave the chip to go output or until it's ready to output. And so it saves time. And all those little trips that it doesn't have to make off the chip to the hard drive or to other processes in the computer, when you add them all together, it ends up being a much, much quicker processing time. That particular processing time is why it takes so long when you put in a prompt to a particular language model. If you are running a language model at home, because you do not have a large GPU chip, and the irony is it's not large, it's actually smaller. The smaller it is faster, because the smaller, the less space it has to travel. The less space it has to travel, exponentially, it gets faster. So the really expensive chips are the ones that are really, really small, thus faster, allowing for faster processing time of AI. Okay, we got that? All right. So NVIDIA invented those chips. So NVIDIA makes those chips, and they are the fastest chips, so they tell you. And they have the ones that are capable of storing the most program data on their chip. Okay? So if I can store my entire business in one house, and I don't have to send people out to get the mail, send people to do all this stuff, well, then everything is done faster and it's in-house. More effective, more efficient, faster. But the problem is, my building is this small, so I need a taller building. I need to stack floors. And so what NVIDIA started doing is not only making the chips smaller, they started putting more chips on the same circuit board. So even though they might not be, all of the processes may not be on the same chip, they are still in the same complex or apartment building or neighborhood, however you want to expand it out. We can get into like servers and all that. But the idea is you want to get as many processes closest together as possible to speed everything up. And you also want to have a big enough building to hold enough so that you can do a lot more stuff. So the gold is the 96 gigabyte graphics card. A 96 gigabyte graphics card would allow you to run most models at home. You'd have no problem generating images and doing everything else. Oh, it's one of the dreams of mine. The only problem is that a 96 gigabyte, which is now the RTX 6000, not the 6000 Ada, that's 48. The RTX 6000, which is hard to get, thing is huge. You can buy one though, and it's only about $10,000. But if you plug that puppy into a nice Xeon server, another $2,000, for $12,000, just about everything you do in the cloud, you could do at home. And your data would be untouched, your models would be untouched, and everything would be tailored around you and how you think. And you would talk about echo chamber. That would be like echo chamber on crack. Be careful, folks. But it would be data you own. Right now, they're buying up all the data. They're grabbing up all the data. They're locking down all the data. They already had it locked down, and you couldn't touch it unless you paid for it, until somebody came along with a skeleton key. That skeleton key is AI, and that's why they're mad, that's why they're screaming. The last time this happened, when we were able to get into their vaults, which was, of course, torrenting, and even now, torrenting is going down, they're fighting it. Now it's again the rise of news groups. I tell you, what's old becomes new again. That's where all the pirate stuff now is, over on news groups. But now you look at AI, and of course it's opened the doors again, and everything is available again, and you can run out there and grab it and build it. But if you do not bring all of the meat into the storehouse, there will be no meat in your house, and you will always have to go out for data, and that data will be more and more expensive. What do you think you are paying thousands and thousands and well, let's get real. Let's get real. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for degrees for? Access to data and information. That's why I keep telling people education's in trouble. No, education will always be around. No, the only thing you go to school for is two things. Number one, access. And number two, proof that you had access and used it. That's a degree. Well, if people aren't caring about the degree, they're more interested in results, and you can get that if you have access to the information to learn and train yourself. Now, I know I went kind of across the field, but let me come back. to NVIDIA, the reason I bring this up is that Jensen Huang's new thing that he's pushing real hard for is that he wants everybody to have the data and access in their houses. But when he's talking about AI factories, he's talking about generating this knowledge and selling it. To generate the knowledge, he has to have access to the databases. So you think he doesn't have all of Harvard's? You think he doesn't have all of that stuff and Elon got the rest? They are going to parse it. They are going to categorize it. They are going to market it. They are going to let you try it for free. You're going to get addicted to it. You're going to need it for your job and your daily life, and they're going to lock it down. Think about the net services you're paying for right now. You don't have to. You could learn to build your own very easily. You could learn to build your own media server that would have all the music you listen to and could ever want, and a lot of it you haven't even heard. It could pull in movies and everything that you've never even heard of. You'd be like, oh my God, this is Academy Award, but I've never seen this. But they're banking on your laziness. If I leave the door right open and go, hey, you can get what you want, you're like, nah, you gotta bring it to me. Well, then you deserve to pay 7-Eleven prices. And that's how AI is going to become. So where's the business? If you don't do anything, simply start storing databases, simply start storing ideas, simply start getting stuff together, bringing the meat that you find important into the storehouse. Because later on, you're not going to be able to find free meat. All right. Case in point. Did you know that in a certain country that is also very good with AI, that for your AI to be approved to put up on that country's version of Hugging Face, that country's version of GitHub. And by the way, their version of GitHub is connected to our version of GitHub, and both have the same and different repositories, meaning libraries of interesting software. And keep in mind, the other country has way more open source stuff than this country. This country's already locked it down. We found it, we discovered it, we built it on open source, we grabbed the data pool, it's ours. You want access? 250. On the other side, they're like, we realize that if we let you have it, you're gonna build bigger and better stuff. So right now we're having an open free sale. Come and get it, build with it, tell us what you get. And so one might go over to the other GitHub as well. And if you don't know what to look for, simply go into one of the LLMs, your favorite, mine's Chat, and go in, or go into DeepSeek and ask them point blank, hey, here's my field. What kind of knowledge, textbooks, other stuff should I compile into a database? Because later I might turn it into an app that I will sell in my field. Later, I might make a consulting company where I teach people how to use AI in my field. Later, when they lock down the data on my particular field and all of the stuff surrounding it, and it'll cost you $10,000 to get a year membership to access that data, I won't have to because I will have brought the meat into my storehouse. This is what I'm talking about. Think ahead, Gen X. If you could go back in time prior to the .com boom, what would you have done? If you could go back in time at the start of the .com boom, what would you have done? Jumping ahead to the younger Gen X, if you could go back to the real estate boom at the time when people were just going, that real estate thing, I'm sure it's going to be a bubble. It'll burst any day. If you were at that moment just getting in as people were just starting to buy that real estate, what would you do different? AI is no different, my brothers. You must simply learn. And learning is easy. You do not have to go to the university. You do not have to sit through boring meetings. You do not have to sit around in Zoom to learn. You can simply take the data put it into your LLM of choice. Tell it what your preferred method is. Perhaps your method is audio, and as you drive to work, you want to hear your lessons rather than see them. Perhaps your method is visual, and you needed to build a slideshow with PowerPoints because that is how you like to take your information. Maybe you need to put it into a story because you like an edutainment kind of AI or knowledge training. It does not matter, brothers and sisters. You will be expected to learn like never before. You should not wait to be told. You should go out now because you have the knowledge, you have the wisdom, and you need to learn AI. Not because you are afraid of a bloodbath, but because you know there is opportunity coming and you can read the future because you lived the past. You know, some would say that comes from me growing up Pentecostal, but I don't think so. Anyway, back on course, 2 more and then we're done. Last, custom silicon edge AI. Now here's a strange one. We were talking about GPUs and how, I need to get back to that. I talked about GPUs and we'll go back to Jensen Huang and NVIDIA in a moment. There is a company called Edge AI, and they are claiming that they have custom silicon, meaning hardware specifically designed that's supposed to be as good as Jensen Huang's GPUs, that are supposed to be able to run AI more efficiently than regular GPUs. Now, that would mean that you could really start running everything from home and never have to touch the cloud. You could just have everything set up at home privately, and you could walk around in a suitcase with it if you wanted. And I don't know if this is true, and if it is true, I think somebody's going to buy them before they mass market it. And it's being tested. Again, they're doing testing, and nobody's really seen a viable prototype. But if this is true, well, first of all, those people are going to sell the technology for billions. And secondly, watch it closely, because if one of the Intel, and Intel should buy them, if Intel or NVIDIA reaches for them, watch that stock price. Opportunities are everywhere. Stop thinking of AI as one little thing. It is so many things. And that's the problem. People are like, I don't know what it is. But what it is opportunity everywhere. And I'm not talking just slapping AI on something and trying to make money. I'm talking look at the ways it is changing society and run out and take advantage of that. Remember when we first started doing internet chat? You got mail. Remember the people who thought, let's make a dating app? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's out here, opportunities everywhere, and you ain't looking because you're annoyed. AI again? AI again? Yeah, AI again until you get it. It ain't about the change. When people start using words, that is the beginning of the wave. When it becomes complex, like disco, or when it becomes everywhere, that's when everybody's using it and you're on the late train. We've got so many terms for AI right now that we haven't even thought about because we're calling everything AI. That's got to break down into specifics the same way that AI is being used to specifically grab certain bodies of knowledge. So you need to get in here and help define it. That's where some of the money is. There's money everywhere. All right. I don't know if this guy's going to pull it off. Let me jump up back to what I was saying about Jensen Huang's second reason why he controls AI. It's the software. From its inception, when I forget her name, I've got a video of her coming up later. I will put it in later. The woman who decided to use AI with GPUs and made that discovery, they created a software called CUDA. And CUDA is the language that allows all of the processing that takes place in AI to happen. Now, there is a version that Intel has, or excuse me, AMD has, that's called ROCm, R-O-C-M. And it's supposed to allow certain AI platforms, programs, models, whatever, run no problem. But it's got a lot of problems. And so CUDA dominates. So with the hardware and the software, that's why Jensen Huang is a billionaire and the richest man in the world right now. I think he's beating Elon. So this guy bringing in another competitor, it's not just going to be the hardware, it's going to be the software. If he's got both, man, that's going to be a Microsoft jump in right there. Okay, last one, enterprise transformation by AI agents. You guys are hearing the term AI agents, AI agents. I want you to understand what AI agents are. If you think of the platform you are using for a specific task, that is an AI agent. When it connects to another AI, or maybe even the same AI, but it's a different task, it's assigned to a different software aspect, another agent. And so when you buy groups of agents packaged together, like Microsoft Word is becoming, where everything isn't just one big program, everything is a bunch of smaller programs, and all of the smaller programs do their own job, but they're clever enough to know how to talk to each other to complete the overall job, and they can change that overall job based on your prompting. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about agents and agentics. I'm trying to keep that stuff simple, which is why I'm calling it Simple Agentics. So if you want to join me in keeping it simple so we can kiss success, then come join me here at Simple Agentics. Subscribe now. Okay, final note. What should you do now? AI, I don't know what to do. Look, I'm going to say it 1,000,000 times. Generation X, hear me. I'm not talking hype. I'm not talking bullshit. What you need to do with AI right now is two things. Number one, you need to think about what you have expertise in. And I don't care if it's formal education or years at work. I don't care if it's something you want to develop expertise in. You need to go out and you need to grab as much data as you can, bring it and put it on a hard drive and start learning what to do with it. Sit down with ChatGPT and said, hey, I want to take my field, my idea, and I want to become an expert in it, and I want to teach others. Or I want to find what problems or pain points I can solve in this particular area. Tell me how to do it. What data do I need? Figure out who the audience is. And everybody's always wondering, what do I sell? Who do I sell? You sell you. Let me make that clear. You do not sell AI products. You do not sell AI services. You do not sell anything AI. You sell you through the lens and the tool usage of AI. You sell shovels, right? The money for AI is not in AI. AI is here. It's how you use it. He or she who controls the data and who creates the best method for manipulating that data and makes it easier for the end user of the data to manipulate it in the way they want it to either create their reality or extend their reality into the minds of the other. There's a lot of different points in that process where the money is made. AI is a step in the process. The process hasn't changed. Those who figure that out and go back and see, oh, these are the processes that have always worked. B. Henry Ford. Hey, if I have 5 guys, one pulls the lever, one screws this, we will increase production. Well, you have 1 billion guys, 24/7, GPTs, platforms, everything you need. What kind of factory are you building? This is what Jensen Huang is talking about. AI factory. Get your data, establish your stack. And by stack, it's the different AI agents that you use for your purpose. Put your data and your stack and your workflow are the ways the various things work together. One of the things you can do to establish your workflow for the different agents and make sure they're all talking to each other, these are the platforms like N8N, and that's if you want to go between coder and normal person, between coder and non-coder, you have N8N, a little difficult. Between over here on the non-coders, you've got Make and the other one, Zapier. And then if you want to go hardcore, well, then you're getting into places where I'm not going to go because it's scary. I'm sorry, developers. Your world is scary to me because I hate math. But I'm learning it because one math I like is counting the money. But anyway, that's what you need to do. Start getting familiar. No. Having ChatGPT do your taxes is not a good idea. It hallucinates. You know what? That just gave me an idea. I'm gonna pull all the top questions for Gen X on AI and I'm gonna run them right out here tomorrow night. So maybe I'll do it live, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not an expert on AI. I'm just a guy out here learning as fast as I can so I can help you, because I have always felt that Generation X got the short end of the stick. But if we really look at it, we have the most experience and wisdom when it comes to change management, embracing the future, picking ourselves up, figuring things out. That's Gen X all the way, baby. So y'all need to start acting like Gen X with AI. This is another loop in the circle. Get out here, not because you're afraid. Get out here because what's that I smell? I smell money. But don't be looking at the gold mines, look at the shovels. A lot of shovels out here. They got whole words that haven't even been invented in your field that is already embracing AI because of pressure from the government, investors, and everybody else. So don't let this be another situation where you get kicked dragging into it. You show up, hey, it's 2021. Y'all heard of this Bitcoin? Don't be that. Don't be that. Don't be that. This time, do not follow. You need to lead. I'm out. I'm Keith. Welcome to Simple Agentics.